Let's go. On you. Don't even throw the word at the mic. You'll stand right here. Okay. And just. All right, awesome. So camera rolling.
Sound speeding.
Cafe scene, shot 2, take 1.
Wonderful. And this is just my fucking audio.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So first of all, how have you been? We haven't seen each other in 2 years at this point.
I know. I've been good, like, it's so funny. I was looking back at our conversations from the very beginning of the Mockingbird process. And at that time, I was telling you about that, my partner and I, we're thinking about starting, like, a pseudo video production company and, like, all this stuff. And now, like, it's 2-3 years later and, like, Real You is, like, a business. And then we have the podcast. And it's just, like, it's crazy. It's been, like, a crazy 2 years.
Can you really quickly just flex and tell us who's up next on Real You? Or on,
yes! Okay.
Misfit?
So I'm super excited about this. So we just got Michael Bell for Misfit Pandemia next week. And I'm really into voiceover acting. And
of course.
That's been, like, a big thing for me the past, I don't know, year and a half. And so Michael Bell is, like, an icon. Like, he played Drew Pickles on Rugrats. He was Chaz Finster. I mean, he has, like, played over 200 roles.
Right, no one important.
Just like an icon. And I know that he's an icon because Andy Roth, who's, like, a huge voiceover casting director, commented on my post. And he was like, oh, dude, he's an icon. So I'm thrilled. Like, I'm so excited. I love... Something I'm realizing is that I love interviewing people.
You're very good at it. I've been listening to a lot of Misfit just the past week, and it's difficult because, like, I've interviewed a handful of people in my life, and I've gotten better, but I started off horrible.
Yeah.
And the first episode of Misfit, it's damn near as good as it is now, which is impressive because it's been. How long have you guys been doing this? Like 8 months?
We started Misfit Pandemia in March, and it was, actually, I think we started it, like, in April. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, like 8 months. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's been, like, I think the thing that works so well about it is, at first we were super anxious about it. The idea of trying to get these people and that, like, imposter syndrome of, like, what right do we have to, like, interview these people? You know what I mean? But we kind of got over that pretty quickly when we had to make the calls and, like, we had to get it done. And now I feel so much looser about it. Like, I feel, it's not as scary to me to talk to people who I'm intimidated by. So it's been really, I've grown a lot doing this podcast. I love it.
I think that's also a very useful skill for an actress to not be intimidated by talking to people. That could really be useful.
Yes.
After the interview, I'll bug you on how to do that for myself because I'm still terrified.
Yeah, I'm still terrified too. You just have to kind of fake it till you make it,
Yeah, I mean, you talked to Boris MacGyver, and I was like, oh, what do I know that name from? And I looked at him like, son of a bitch, I know who he is. Like, I know him. Oh my God.
I know. And
I think that was the first step of me, like, being like, oh my God, Mackenzie's not fucking around. She's going for it. And Anthony. I just haven't met Anthony, so I know you better.
Yeah. No, we're really, and we're aiming higher and higher with the people that we're trying to get because we really we really believe in the power of the theme of the podcast, like the idea that there are so many moving parts to this industry that people from the outside of the industry, they just don't have any idea about. Like, people don't know really what a producer does. They don't know the ins and outs of being a casting director, of being an executive, of, like, all these things all these elements that are vital for making a film and for making, content or whatever. And I think that it's just a really great opportunity to, like, educate people about, it's not just the actor and the director that do all the things, it's the grip, it's the sound engineer, it's everybody. So it's fun to enlighten people on that. And, like, even when you messaged me about the Rob Margulies episode and listening to that, I was like, I love that because it just makes me feel so happy that people are actually getting stuff from this podcast, which is the whole goal.
Rob is someone I've actually taken physical notes about because I'm like, okay, I know about this part, I know how to write, I know how to direct, woohoo.
Yeah.
But he's right. I would never in a million years ask anybody for money.
Yeah.
Even if I knew I met M. Night Shyamalan, as I told you.
Yeah.
And, I met is a strong word, but I ran into him. I would have, even if I knew him, I wouldn't ask him for money. And I know he could bankroll whatever I'm doing. So I've taken notes. I've made a plan for that for the next thing. But we'll talk about the next thing later. So actually, I had a couple questions. You got to look at them a little bit earlier.
Yes.
We'll just start from the beginning because I do have a handful of surprise questions at the end. We got a couple people asking questions on my Instagram when I asked.
Oh, that's awesome! And I haven't seen them, so that's great.
Yeah, I was actually surprised anyone responded, but I was very happy to see it. So first thing is a little bit kind of what you were already doing. Introduce yourself. What's your story? Where do you come from? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Mackenzie Barmen. I am an Actors Equity member. I'm a SAG member now. And I've always been like a really creative person. Even as a kid, I was always drawing or reading books out loud and like reenacting them and I was doing all of these things as a kid that were actor things that I just really didn't realize were actor things when I was a kid. Because I really didn't have a lot of exposure to it. You know, no one in my family comes from the entertainment industry. I come from a small town. Like, did not have a lot of exposure. So it was really like imagination, you know. And when I got to high school, we moved from a very small town to like a city. And there was a lot more opportunity for performing arts there. And we had, in my high school, there was the Blue Roses Theater Company run by Bill Ziskin and Tim Dugan, who I love so much. They're still two of my favorite people on the planet. And it was really, when I saw that it was possible to audition for a show, I think it was 10th grade that I did my first play. And it was the most exciting feeling, like to be on a stage, to be in front of people, to hear the applause. It was like, that was when I caught the bug. And it was a musical called Sweet Charity. And I carried a placard across the stage and I was in the ensemble. But I just remember like the overwhelming feeling of like, oh my God, like the aha moment of like, oh my God, this is like what I'm going to do somehow. And I did, you know, after that, I started working in regional theater, and community theater. And then I went to college and at first I was an early childhood education major and I was taking theater classes because coming from a family that wasn't in the entertainment industry, I wanted a backup plan and then I decided, I think in my freshman year, like halfway through, I was like, no, I'm just going to be like a theater major. And so I ended up double majoring in theater and theater education. And I got a degree in teaching theater K through 12, which was a good backup plan at the time. And I thought, you know, I like kids, I like to teach. And I soon realized after student teaching that I don't want to teach. Like I definitely, like if I ever teach, it'll be at the collegiate level. But yeah, that was really, that really like my story of how I got started. You know, I kind of just figured it out all on my own. After I student taught, I moved to New York City. And that was like 6 years ago, I think. And, you know, I started auditioning for showcases, started, you know, doing backstage and actors access and all the things that you're supposed to do, the workshops. And I was never one to like, I was doing musical theater for a while. But I was never really one to like wake up at like 4 a.m. and go to all these auditions all day. Like that was just never, and that's what you need to be as a musical theater actor. Like you have to like go. And I just don't have that. I just don't have that discipline, honestly. So I kind of like shifted away from that and into film and TV. And I started doing, you know, more short films and more projects that would build up my demo reel. But after a while, I realized that there was a lot more that I wanted to do besides just being an actor. And I think today in this world, I don't think you can just be one thing anymore. I think you have to be a multi-hyphenate. And so, you know, my journey from just being an actor kind of transformed into experimenting with cinematography and experimenting with editing and then starting a production company and doing voiceover. And I've just been kind of building, you know, and it's really important to me to know how to do all the things so that when I'm working with people, like I can understand. But yeah, that's really the journey. That was like how I got into it. I caught the bug in 10th grade and yeah. And now I'm here doing this interview.
Yeah, now it's terminal.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, actually, you answered number 2 in there, so that's wonderful.
Woo!
I had a interesting question because I've seen you obviously work directly on Mockingbird. I got to see your process there.
Yeah.
I told everybody immediately afterward, and I continue to, like, you knew the script better than I did in a lot of ways, because you were able to. I think the only time we did a retake was because we wanted to do a different emotion, or because my camera locked up.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like there was never a line flub. I think there might have been maybe one in the entire 4 or 5 day.
Damn it. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll get better. Don't worry.
I'll get there.
But like just knowing that, I want to know about your process for preparing for a role. And there's like a little bit of a sub question in there, which is there a difference between like a serious versus comedic character, a more unique character versus like an archetypical character? Are there any differences you have in prep, or are you kind of same situation for all the time?
Yeah, my process really changes. I mean, I always start with reading the script. Like no matter what it is, I read it before I do anything with it. I just read it from an objective, I'm not in it yet. I'm just reading it as a reader. Because I just want to get an idea of it from the outside, like what the tone is, what the themes are, what the whole like the energy of the script is. And then once I do that, once I really kind of digest the overall script, then I'll start to do the character work. And I'll start to, dive into, who my person is in the world. Like, how does the world see my character? How do I see the world? What words do people use to describe me? How can I kind of gauge how I stand in this world? And then from there, I kind of get, ideas about how I would behave, how I would react to things, how I would be. And something that my acting teacher drills into me, Anthony Abeson, is think the thoughts of the character. And so that's something that I always really actively try to do. I try to really, it's weird. I try to kind of fuse with them. And it's weird sometimes when I'm really into it, like when I'm really having this, really thinking the thoughts of the character and I'm really invested in the role, I kind of find that I disappear a little bit. And it's a really trippy feeling, honestly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I black out. But for me, character work is so important. And I was, in my scene study classes in college, my acting professor, Susan Neal, she would always drill subtext into us. Like, what is the character saying, but what do they really say? What's underneath the line? And so that's always a big part of my work is the subtext, because I feel like intentionally or not intentionally, when you're writing in all these other things without even realizing it sometimes. And I think that's the juiciest stuff to find. And I really like to, whether it's a comedic role or a dramatic role, I really like to find the similarities and the differences between who we are. And with comedy specifically, comedy is so much more dependent on timing and with rhythm and with pacing. And so like with comedy, I always make sure that I read it with time and with pacing in mind. And that's something that I don't necessarily factor into my prep work as much with dramatic work. I feel like you have more wiggle room with drama to kind of take your beats or kind of create your own pace, whether it's offbeat or on the beat. But I think you always have to be on the beat with comedy. And that's just another it's another level of prep that I think you have to do. But ultimately, it's about the humanity for me. Like, and not, you talk about like a 3D versus like an archetype. I think that the danger of archetypes are, you kind of, people have a tendency, I think, to try to fit themselves into a box that already exists, and to say, okay, I'm playing the silly, the dumb one, and then just play them very dumb. But I think like one of my favorite actors is Lisa Kudrow, and I think like the way she plays Phoebe is such an archetype, right? Like she's like the hippie, free, but she has this like, she plays this like anger and like this compassion in there too, and she's got this like bite to her that I think you need in comedy. Like you need to bring yourself into it. So yeah, does that answer the question? Kind of?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I thought the same thing with archetypes. I'm like, I don't know theater nearly as well as I should, but I know that, there's millions of different people that have played King Lear. And the reason they get good reviews, like Patrick Stewart versus I can't think of anyone else who's played King Lear for some reason. But Patrick Stewart versus someone else, it isn't a better or worse situation. It's like, go watch their King Lear, go watch this person's interpretation of Hamlet, or whatever.
Right.
And I think that's like, Shakespeare characters are now archetypes just because of how much they've been produced and how much they've been performed over 600 years.
Right.
But I know from what little I do know, each actor puts so much into it, and it's interesting to see it from this perspective because, little side note about Mockingbird, with Abigail, I worked with Ashley Kofelt and Courtney Burke, who are both actresses, both filmmakers, both tour de force people, and Wayne, of course. That was my first time working with anybody at all. And with this movie, I had a lot more actors and a lot more characters involved, and each of you was different, and it was interesting because I finally got to kind of really do the directing part. Because I've talked about this before. Abigail, I focused so much on the visuals, whatever. Mockingbird, visuals were important, but I really wanted to get good performances.
Right.
And I found out there's a great quote by, I think, Wim Wenders, or Wim Wenders, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've only read it, I just realized. He said, whenever you're going to call cut, wait 5 more seconds.
Yeah.
And I did that a lot on Mockingbird, and for the next thing, I'm definitely going to be doing that more. Yeah. Because a lot of the best moments in there is when I shut up, don't get excited, don't call cut, just let them go.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting working with a bunch of different actors. That was just
and I think that's where thinking the thoughts of the character can really come in handy, because
Absolutely.
I feel like we as actors, we're in the moment, but we're not always actively listening, or we're not actively present in the moment. And so when the scene is over, we have a tendency to like drop out before we should. And I think that by extending calling cut, you're putting a little pressure on your actors, which I think is a good thing, because it holds them accountable to stay in it, And they did that with The Graduate, with Dustin Hoffman. I think that we may have talked about that. The last scene, when they're on the bus, the director did not, I can't remember the director for the life of me right now, but
I can't either. I can't when we're not on camera.
But the director did not call cut, and the end is so uncomfortable because it's real. And it's like they just had this, they just left the wedding, they ran away together, and it's like the existential like, well, now what?
Oh shit, we did it, what do we do now?
Now what do we do? Yeah, and it's that, I think, is the humanity of that, I think, is what makes that moment so awesome. Because it's like, the actors like just sitting there like, what the hell? Like, call a cut. Like, what are you doing?
The director is Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols.
Just Googled him. Yes. I think I knew that, but I wasn't sure. There's another guy named Mike that... Yeah. We're super smart. We knew everything.
We're really smart.
Yeah. I had a question about Mockingbird for you this time.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this, but I think it might be fun to share. How did you get involved with Mockingbird? And so after that, what made you say yes to it?
Yeah. Okay, so with Mockingbird, we had never met. We didn't know each other at all. And I got a message from you because you had seen my work in Spark, which was a short film that I did with Michelle Elise Harding, who's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I love you, Michelle.
I love you too, Michelle. Please let that be known.
I love her. She's the best. But you had seen my work in Spark, and I had this like monologue in that, and you had complimented that, and you said, hey, like, I would love for you to look at Carla. If it interests you, like, read these sides, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And I immediately was like drawn to it because, one, like, this is exactly the type of material that I am always like drawn to. I love this psychological thriller, like darker mystery, like mysterious drama. Like, I love that stuff. That's the stuff that I love to watch. And it's for Mockingbird specifically, because of the length of it and because of the amount of dialogue that I had, like there was so much to dig into. Like, there was so much there for this character. And it was, it was one of the biggest roles that I was that I had the opportunity to play in film, like, it was a big opportunity for me to like really sink my teeth into like a really juicy role. And I remember when I read the script, I had just watched a show called The Killing. With Mariah Enos, who I can't, like, she's my dream. But this reminded me so much of that thematically, and having just come off of that, I was like, oh my God, like, this is like divine intervention. Like, I get to play a role like the one that I was just hardcore admiring with Mariah Enos. And so I
Right.
really just, like, I took all of what she did, and I just kind of was like, make it mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really enticed by it. Like, I loved the density of the script, and I loved, like, the characters. I loved the dialogue. It was something that, like, how could you say no, you know?
Well, that's nice. That I'm putting that in my own. Whenever I send things to actors, I'm just gonna put that little soundbite in there.
Yeah.
Well, from my end on Mockingbird, I had actually just asked out loud on Facebook, like, does anyone know any actors, actresses? Mm-hmm. And Michelle messaged me, and she said Mackenzie, and I'm like, okay. And I had watched Spark already, and I watched it again, and I was like, okay, well, she kind of owned her, like, basically, you had like a single shot basically for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I remembered you, so that's impressive, just off the bat. And I like, okay, well, Carla's absolutely nothing like that, but that doesn't actually matter because, like, for Steve, who's in the movie, I saw him in The Crucible. Mm-hmm. As a judge, the Crucible judges are nothing like Frank. But
Right.
I knew that, like, when I'd seen you do your monologue in basically a single shot, I was like, okay, great. First thing, I know she can remember her lines. I know that she can sell it emotionally. That's all I needed over an actor, really. Mm-hmm. And for Steve, I was like, he did the fucking Crucible. Nothing I write is nearly as complicated as the Crucible, so I know he'll be able to do it.
Right.
And yeah, once we met, we had I think a FaceTime or something that Zoom didn't exist yet, or if it did, no one used it. We called or something. You were in some beautiful house in, I think, the Hamptons.
Oh yeah, that was when I was nannying. Yeah.
Yes, you were nannying and I thought you were just a billionaire or something. You're like, oh no, I'm house sitting.
Oh yeah,
and,
no.
I saw like this gorgeous sunset, and you had these like expensive looking glasses on, and you said that you were interested, and you made me watch The Killing, which I thank you immensely for.
Did I make you watch it? That's awesome.
Yeah, you said you should watch it. Like, we kept talking about it. I'm like, you know what, I should watch it. And I watched Mariah. I loved her part of it, and what I liked about it was that I could see what you were pulling from her, but at no point did it become like a caricature. It was never like I'm doing an impression of Enos.
Right.
I'm doing Carla, but the characters do have similar sort of backstory. Anyway,
Yeah.
yes. So you are actually, what made you say yes was just how engaging it you found it, right?
Yeah. No, it was just
Okay.
like, yeah, that was really what made me say yes. It was the opportunity to play, again, like, the length of the film. This is like pretty much a feature, like, and I had a lot to do in it, you know, and it was just really exciting. The idea of diving in and like studying this person and like just creating this character was thrilling. Yeah, I loved it.
I will say I've been watching you for 2 years in the same movie. It's still interesting, so good job.
I watched the scene. I was like, wow, it's actually like I don't like watching myself all the time, so.
Of course not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I did like watching the scene. I was like, oh my god, like, this is something. This is working.
It's engaging, right? I was very happy when because I'm unrelated to the movie. I had a lot of technical issues, a lot of issues, like just getting it done. Life got in the way, whatever. And when I finally like finished it back this summer, when I called you and had you record that bit of which we won't spoil here. Once I finished it and had it on my like new laptop where all the tech was out of the way, and I just got to watch it, I was like, oh shit, this is pretty good. I don't think there's a weak scene in it, which is good. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Right. So on to the next part. This is not related to Mockingbird. I actually just you mentioned a little bit. You really like watching this kind of thriller, darker subject matter. The question is, what is your ideal project, acting or otherwise? Like, what's something you'd really like to be involved with, whether it exists or whether it's an idea?
So one of my big goals right now is, I think television right now is killing it, and I think that the series that are running on these streaming services, especially I want to say like HBO, Netflix, Amazon Prime, like, I feel like there's a lot of great work for actors in television right now.
Oh, yeah.
And
I just watched Chernobyl, so
oh my
hell yeah.
god. Chernobyl, literally a masterpiece. Like, that would be a goal. A show like that, like a period piece like that, would be insane. That would be so much fun. A show like Big Little Lies would be so much fun. That kind of
Bree just watched Euphoria. Bree just watched the first season of Euphoria, and she fell in love with it.
I love Euphoria. If I was like 5 years younger, I would want to do that show. But I think I was like a little old. But yeah, no, I think really I want to shape a character on a series. I want to have that long arc of building a character on a series. That would be a dream. Comedy or drama, honestly. I think that I'm told really from a lot of people, casting directors and my acting teacher even, they're really like, you need to do comedy. Like, but I love both, and so it's hard for me to really pick one. But yeah, I think my big goals right now are to book a series regular on a TV show, on a good juicy TV show, and also, you know, feature films. Like, give me a really good indie. Give me a really good, like, I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open to playing. I am.
Just give me something good. I don't care if it's funny or bad or
give me good
serious.
dialogue and a good cast and a good director, and like, that's it. I'm good.
Yeah. I want to mentioning Mockingbird. Our first day shooting, when we had I don't know if you remember this, my camera, the SD card was bad and it would lock up randomly.
I remember, yeah.
Mid-take. And you had brought Nina on, and which I owe you my life for.
Isn't she the best? I love her.
She is wonderful. She's funny as hell. But it was our first day working, and the only problems were my camera. Like, you two knew it backwards. You were bouncing off each other. It was exciting to watch each time, it was a very good sign for the rest of the shoot. I was like, if nothing else, we have strong actresses doing strong work on day one. Like, it was wonderful. I have issues with the post-production of Mockingbird, but I have no issues with the actual shooting. It was wonderful.
I gotta say, I cannot wait to see that scene.
Oh yeah, it's actually, I'll send it to you because I that was the first thing I ever edited.
Yay!
So it's been done for 2 years.
I'm dying. Yeah. Let me see it.
It's wonderful. You and Nina are great. And it's the one thing that didn't change. Like, I think I trimmed off maybe a quarter second at the beginning. It starts off with my hand putting down a cup of coffee. I might have trimmed that a little bit, but the scene itself stayed basically the same.
Nice.
Since August of 2018. Anyway.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. I'm doing my best to try and not take 2 years per project.
Yeah. No.
I wanted to ask, what's your favorite actor or actress, and what's your favorite performance that you've seen? Yeah, big question.
So, my favorite actress, I have a few. I definitely have a few. Amy Adams. I love everything that she does. I think that, like, she's somebody who I really model after, because she can handle any material. Like, she can handle any material.
She can,
she's given. She's so good. She's so good. And I want her to win for Hillbilly Elegy. I haven't
watched that.
It's not out yet. The trailer's out. But it's I think she's going to win the Oscar.
And that was enough.
So yeah, Amy Adams. Kate Winslet is a huge one for me. She's somebody who I also really model after. And I gotta say, like, Lisa Kudrow. I just think that she is absolutely brilliant. And obviously Mirai Enos. Mirai Enos, I think
that goes without saying.
I think she's underrated. I think that she's one of the best character actors, and she's just so good. She's such a smart actor, and she really makes a lot of and the through line to all these actors, the thing that I admire about them so much is that they are so specific in their choices, and all of the roles that they play are so different from each other. You know, they're very diverse, and they can handle material like just unbelievably well. And so those are like my icons. Like, if I could work with them, that would be a dream. Right.
I like sort of when you said Amy Adams, I was like, I remember her. The first thing I ever saw her in, because I was 11, was the Disney movie she did where she played the princess.
Yeah, and she was kind of Enchanted.
With McDreamy, and
she was so good.
She was ditzy and hilarious and sang and whatever. And then a few years later, I see her in The Master. And I'm like, just those two roles, the fact that exists on the same resume within like a 3 or 4 year period, like, oh my god.
That's exactly.
And when like actors like Adam Sandler or anyone, when they give a shit, they're amazing. Mm-hmm. Like Mark Wahlberg, and I watched Boogie Nights right before we met, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm still like, you know, I think what I appreciate most in most actors is just the range. Like, whenever I see, like, Jim Carrey's another good example. Whenever I see someone who makes me laugh endlessly, I immediately want to put them in, like, a Black as Night movie.
Yeah, I know.
And see what they do there.
I know. Well, and you asked me, like, what my favorite performance was.
Yeah.
And I think Kate Winslet in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one of my favorite performances ever.
Great choice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love seeing actors act because I knew this from when I was a kid. I knew it forever. Like, actors are people. They work. They can do a bunch of things. But sometimes you get so... Here's a good one. Mark Hamill, right? Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
After that, you can't put him in a movie because he's Luke Skywalker, so he gets into voice acting. And he ends up becoming the fucking Joker.
I know.
And it's like, just the range that you have to go from, like, innocent space farm boy to evil clown.
Right.
It's insane watching, like, just watching actors act is one of the most exciting bits for movies for me. And it's one of the... This year, I was supposed to do a couple of different projects, and obviously they had to be postponed. I can't wait to just sit behind a camera and watch people talk again.
I know.
Because that was seriously one of the most exciting parts of Mockingbird, of Abigail, of even Siren, that black and white thing I did a few years ago. It was super exciting.
I've only been on one shoot so far, and since the quarantine stuff, and I'm itching to like get back. Like it's killing me. It's killing me. But.
Yeah, I can't wait to just get back into it because sorry, I'll talk about this after the interview. Not relevant to the. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I had a very interesting question just for myself. Who would you like to most work with? Like, who's someone you would want to work with? Either actor, actress, director, writer, anybody.
Man.
Again, if you have more than one answer, list them all.
Okay, so I would die. My two favorite directors are Quentin Tarantino and Charlie Kaufman. I would die to work with either of them. And they're so vastly different. They are so wildly different, right? Like, Charlie Kaufman is very introspective. He's very grounded, very kind of, out there with his films. And he is not afraid to really embrace his brain and what lives in there. And the same goes for Quentin, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I feel like they are just such powerhouse directors and so creative, and like, their films are just so beautiful and full. So they, as directors, they would be my... Like, if I could work with them, that would be amazing. People who I would love to work with, actors or actresses, obviously my favorites, Amy Adams, Mariah Enos, Kate Winslet, Lisa Kudrow, Amy Poehler, Kristen Wiig. Like, to be able to play off of them would be amazing. But I've got to say, for actors, from male actors too, right now, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, so you might have to look it up for me, but the actor who plays Homelander on The Boys.
Oh, is that... I never watched the show, but I actually know who you're talking about, the blonde guy.
Dude, Marty, you have to watch The Boys.
His name is Anthony Starr.
Anthony Starr?
Yep, he's from New Zealand and is not blonde.
I want to work with Anthony Starr. There, I'm saying it, Anthony Starr, I want to work with you. I want to act with you. I want to be your scene partner. He's just, he's insane. He's so incredibly good. God, that's such a hard question, though.
I know, it's kind of loaded, but I want to see what came off the top of your head, because as soon as we're done, you're going to think of 1,000 more actors where you're like, oh my god.
I know. And obviously, like, Jim Carrey. I would die to work with Jim Carrey. But yeah, I think those are really... And after watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I really want to work with Brad Pitt. I know that sounds kind of like Brad Pitt, but I loved him so much in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, I want to work with that guy.
Yeah, because he's funny as hell too, and his like acceptance speeches for the Golden Globes and stuff. I think he made some joke about like, it wasn't the most difficult character. I had to play like an older stoner or something, and he just seems so funny because I forget, like, I love David Fincher, as we talked about, and like that's another reason why I was so floored when you have Boris MacGyver on your podcast. I love David Fincher, and I was like, Brad Pitt in Fight Club. Yeah. He's excellent. Brad Pitt in Paris, Case of Benjamin Button. He's a wonderful actor. He's outrageously good. He's also incredibly handsome, and that kind of like took over for a couple years. But it reminds me of Matthew McConaughey. Like, Matthew McConaughey played the dumb, sexy boyfriend for 10 years, stopped cold, and then won an Oscar. Like, like, it wasn't instant. He worked at it. But he really put in the work and showed that, like, yes, I'm hot when I take off my shirt, but also there's a reason I get these jobs, and it's not just my abs. It's like, I love just what I've been saying already. Like, I love seeing actors who are known for one thing completely flipped. Like, I want to see Rob Schneider in like The Lobster or something, or just something incredibly Manchester by the Sea. Put Rob Schneider in there.
Yeah.
I want to know what he does, because if you're able to be funny...
If you can be funny, you can definitely do drama. And I think it's easier... It seems to me like it's easier to transition from comedy to drama than it is from drama to comedy. But I want to add a couple more people to my list, because they just popped into my head.
Yeah, please.
Michael Shannon. Oh,
yeah. My God.
I would like...
Have you watched Knives Out?
Yes, I love it.
Oh my God.
I loved it.
Michael
and
Shannon.
I watched a film the other night. It's an older film, but he was in it briefly. Called Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. With Ethan Hawke and Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Michael Shannon was in there, and I was like, Michael Shannon low key is like in everything, and I think that he's so brilliant. I think he's one of the best movies that I've seen. A performance for him was this film called Take Shelter. He was so good in it. It was like a weird, like psychological, like sci-fi kind of drama. And he's awesome. And Nicole Kidman, honestly, right now for me, like after Big Little Lies, and I'm watching The Undoing right now. She's killing it.
Absolutely.
She's killing it in TV. Like, I would love to work with her. She's awesome. So.
Yeah, I love Nicole Kidman. I was always used to get her mixed up with Naomi Watts when I was a kid.
I could see that.
Yeah, Naomi Watts was in King Kong, and I loved King Kong, so I watched that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I saw, when they're standing next to each other, it's like, oh, they're very similar. But Nicole Kidman is a monster.
She is.
In terms of, like, she's been known for being beautiful for her whole life, but, like, she's also, like, probably one of the best living actors.
Oh, yeah.
Alive or dead, actually. She's just one of the best we've ever had.
She's unreal. Like, you talk about subtext and playing with subtext. Like, she is a queen of that. And I think, going back a little bit to what we were talking about, like, with Matthew McConaughey and, like, the whole shifting out of, like, one type into a more character-driven type. I think of Robert Pattinson, too. He's somebody who's
absolutely, yeah,
killing it right now. Killing it. And he deserves it. Like, he's a freaking amazing actor. And I think... And I think it's my acting teacher, Anthony Abeson, he harps on this too. It's like the idea of self-portrait. And I think that it's easy as an actor, especially if you're really specific. I feel like I'm a bit more ambiguous with, like, the roles that I can play. But some people are really good at playing, like, the Matthew McConaughey, like the pretty boy, like the young, pretty, the surfer boy. And I think it's really easy to get stuck in a self-portrait of what the world sees you as. And you have to kind of, like, shift that while you're on top. It's like the stock market. You gotta sell, what is it, sell high and buy low, or whatever.
Yep.
Because I think that when you're on top, like Matthew McConaughey, he knew, he was aware. He was a very self-aware person. He knew, okay, I'm not going to be 30 forever. I'm not going to be able to, like, hold this forever. I need to shift. I need to adapt so that people take me seriously.
I actually had a comment on that. I think one of the people who best balanced that self-portrait versus everything else is actually Will Smith. Because he started off basically just playing himself, right? Mm-hmm. And he's always been charismatic. He's always been cocky. He's always been whatever. But he's also done movies like Ali. He's also done movies like I Am Legend, and things that really allow you to show, like, oh, Will Smith can actually act his ass off. Like, he's really good at what he does. And even if the movies themselves aren't that great, like, I just rewatched Wild Wild West. It's terrible. But he's really fun to watch in it.
He is. He's always fun.
Writing mistakes. Yeah, he's always fun to watch.
Yeah.
And he's always good. Like, I don't think there's a weak Will Smith performance, really. And I think that's one of those actors who's like, there's a good way to do self-portrait. And I think Keanu Reeves is also doing that now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he manages, like, he played himself, I think, in Crazy Rich Asians, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just really funny. He just showed up and was like Buddha, basically.
Yeah, and it's awareness. It's self-awareness. It's
right.
Like knowing... I think that's what makes some TV shows so great, is like the self-awareness of what they are, and
right.
It's just, I think it's really hard if you don't adapt, if you're not able to change and grow and, like, change the types of roles that you're playing and what you're saying yes to, like, you're gonna fade out eventually. It's not sustainable. Right. So I think these actors are great examples of people that are just really self-aware and taking control, and even Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie is
God.
another. I love her so much. She's gorgeous and like beyond talented, but she's a genius because she came in as an actor, and she was great. But then she bought, or I don't know how the deal was, but she owns the rights now to Harley Quinn, and so she.
Oh my God, that's genius.
She literally like owns, and I'm pretty sure this is true, but she like can do what she wants now, and like that's with Birds of Prey, like that was her. She produced that, and I think, and with like I Tanya, she produced that, and I think that's another thing that's what I'm trying to do now is really become a producer actor. I really want to, because you have so much more creative control over the material that you do. You know, like Reese Witherspoon and her production company, she chooses the material that she wants to do. Brad Pitt. He wanted to do a zombie movie. So he was like, I'm going to produce it. I'm going to make it happen. And World War Z.
Tom Cruise is also another, he produces everything.
Exactly.
No one else will insure him.
Yeah. I mean, if you really look at the most successful people in Hollywood, they're producing their own work. They're putting themselves in their own movies. And you don't really, if you're on the outside, you don't really know that. You're just thinking that, oh, they're getting the roles because they're the best. And that is part of it, right? They're really super talented people, but they're also business savvy. And I think
that's just like what Ben said, where you could be the best in the world, but that's not enough. You need to be able to make the decision and make the choices to be like, I'm going to produce this, found the writer, found the director, found whoever, made it happen. That's absolutely.
You have to be a go-getter. Like you have to have a business mindset as an actor. And I think that's something that if you go to school for theater or you go to school for acting, you're not really taught that within the theater major. You know, you're not taught all the business that goes into it and all of the work that goes into it, all the marketing, all the things that go into being a professional actor. And I think that's something that I'm doing, I'm learning, it's so important to me to know how to do everything so that I can produce my own work and I can do the roles that I want to do. And yeah.
I think I can't wait to see what you produce. Like,
me either.
Knowing you for it's funny. Knowing you for this long and knowing like, okay, you respond to well the Mockingbird material. I've seen what else you do. I've seen your Instagram stories. They're fucking hilarious, by the way. Like, but just seeing your range in terms of what you like to do in your free time, hearing you on Misfit, hearing all that stuff, I can't wait to see what you decide is like, oh, I'm going to produce this. I'm going to make this happen. I can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
And the other thing, our mutual friend, Michelle, who's an angel on earth, she's one of those people who's like a force of nature. Like, nothing is ever going to stop her. Rarely will it even slow her down from getting anything done. Like I can't think of a better word. She's insane in the best possible way.
She
is.
And I will always hold on to her because I know that like she's one of those people that like will grow and will become successful because she's just constantly planting seeds. You know, she already is successful, but I mean, she's a seed planter. And I think that I, like you too, like I love surrounding myself with people that are go-getters, that are they don't wait for opportunities to come, they make them. And I think that like that, you have to be like that. You know, you can't, in today's world with technology and the way that the industry has shifted, like you have to be also a producer. You also have to be, you know, an editor or a cinematographer or a director. You know, you just have to be multifaceted, and I like surrounding myself with multifaceted people.
It's a good business plan, believe me. My best places to find work are definitely with people who are like, not only do you enjoy their company, but they're also like Michelle, like a force of nature.
Because it makes you grow. Yeah. It forces you to grow. Yeah. You know.
Michelle is the reason I was doing marketing for Mockingbird. Is the reason I was doing any of this because like I saw her work with the farmhand.
Yes.
And like I know about the farmhand. I still remember it. I still like yes, the movie's good, but I remember learning about it. I remember her posting things about it. I actually have a video I was supposed to upload today about Mockingbird. It's going to be a script to screen sort of thing with with the scene you and Steve did. So
that's awesome.
Again, all that's just me messaging her randomly every 6 months and being like, I don't know how to do this. You're a genius. Help me. And her being nice enough to say like, sure, and doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one last question, and then I'll finally let you go. It's almost cliche, and it's such a wide answer. You could just list off your answers again.
Okay.
What is your favorite movie and why?
Okay. My favorite movie is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, starring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. It's a Charlie Kaufman film. that's a movie. It's my favorite movie because I can watch it over and over and over again. And I can find something new every time I watch it. I don't think that I understood that movie until like the third or fourth watch. And I like movies that make me do that. I like movies that like put me in almost a frustrated place of like, why can't I understand this?
Right.
And I just think the performances in that film are amazing. And my other favorite movie of all time is Independence Day with Will Smith.
What a range.
And
See, this is why we
Goldblum.
get along so well. That ridiculous range in terms of two favorites, wonderful.
This is why it's so hard for me to like put myself anywhere because like this is
Yeah.
and like Jurassic Park. Like those are
Right.
like yes, but Independence Day for me, I can't even tell you why it's my favorite movie. I think it's just the best movie ever. Like the cast is insane. Like give me Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, and Will Smith like every day,
Yeah.
forever.
Bill Pullman in a beard in the newest one that came out a few years ago. He looks like
What's that? The show? Yeah, it's so good.
Bill Pullman show?
Yeah, Bill Pullman. He stars in it. The Sinner.
I haven't seen it.
Ooh, watch the first season of that.
See, this is why I like talking to you because you always leave me with good
I'm
stuff
obsessed
to
with
watch.
TV. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Watch it. Yeah. You guys too. Watch the first season of The Sinner. It's so good. And Bill Pullman is just the best. I love him.
Oh my god, Detective Harry Ambrose. Oh, you do have a type in terms of your favorite shows.
Right? I love those types of things. I'm trying to think if there's any other movies that are like my favorite movie. Another movie that I really, really love is Big Fish.
Okay.
Did you ever see that movie?
I have not, no.
That's another really good one. Write it down. It's weird. It's so weird. And it's with James McAvoy, who I think is one of the most underrated actors of our time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, how did I leave this out? My favorite actor of all time is Joaquin Phoenix. I can't believe I left him
Of course.
out. I'm ashamed.
I mean, he goes without saying as well. Of course.
I think that's it. I think he goes without saying. He's my favorite actor of all time. Yeah. And Al Pacino.
About Big Fish. Oh, Al Pacino, of course. Big Fish. Ashley Kofeld actually mentioned that when we were shooting a movie a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
They were lining up a shot and they said, "Oh, this looks like the poster for Big Fish," and it does. The shot is in the movie. I'll send it to you later.
You should watch it if you really want. It's a really fantastical, out there, but also really grounded movie. But it's trippy. There's a lot. It's weird. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
It's Tim Burton, so when he tunes in, he's amazing.
Yeah, I love Tim Burton.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I think we're done. I think that was everything.
Sweet. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Do you have any last words for the? That sounds really morbid. Do you have anything else to say to the audience at home?
Not. You know what, guys? Just like follow my podcast. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back. I want to. I love connecting with people. I love meeting new artists and actors and creatives. So if you're watching this, follow me and we can be friends. That's it.
There we go. Wonderful. Well, it was very nice seeing you again, Mackenzie.
It was great to see you too.
Let's stop our recordings here. Make sure everything's okay.
Bye, guys.